Imagine that you are a world-class athlete. Elite in every sense of the word. You're at the top of your game. And then imagine that one day you are told that you're no longer allowed to participate in your sport because of your body. As outlandish as the scenario I just described to you may seem, it is one all too familiar to Caster Semenya, South African running superstar and two-time Olympic gold medalist. Last week, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, or the CAS, the highest court in international sports, released a ruling stating that discrimination against female athletes with higher natural levels of testosterone in their bodies is necessary to protect the integrity and fairness of female running. Semenya received this ruling after appealing a regulation put in place by the International Association of Athletics Federations, or the IAAF, stating that she would no longer be allowed to participate in her sport due to her increased levels of testosterone. The ruling last week from the CAS doubles down on this rule by the IAAF and forces athletes like Semenya to make a decision. To continue competing, either take hormone suppressants to make competition fair, or not compete at all. Advocates of this new rule point out the weight classes introduced in combat sports and powerlifting as precedents for the new rule. In combat sports, for example, weight classes were introduced to protect the sport and its participants. Instead of having all the fighters fight each other to see who was the best, to protect the smaller ones, they would introduce the weight classes because larger fighters had certain genetic advantages. Namely, they are able to take more punches, have a much longer reach, and can punch a lot harder. Proponents of the new rule also point out that many current female athletes try to use PEDs, the most popular of which is testosterone supplementation, to get Semenya's natural results. Testosterone is proven to increase bone density, muscle mass, and increase lung capacity and improve lung function, making these athletes much better. If caught, they are labeled as cheaters, and the proponents of this new rule say that Semenya should be lumped with them. Quite simply, however, I disagree. Regulating sports is wrong. I believe that bodies of all shapes and sizes should be allowed to participate in sports if they so choose. Plus, how boring would sports be if all athletes had a cookie-cutter body type and looked exactly the same and performed exactly the same? The World Medical Association has cautioned doctors around the globe in implementing this new rule. The president of the association himself released a statement saying, "We have strong reservations about the ethical validity of these regulations." He goes on to say, "They are based on weak evidence from a single study, which is currently being widely debated by the scientific community." One cause for concern with this association may be the anti-doping practice that is being forced upon the athletes. Anti-doping, or in a more scientific term, hormone suppressing, could be quite dangerous for these female athletes. Hormone suppressants have been linked to increased risk of blood clots, thinning bones, bone fractures, and heart problems. And I, for one, think it is incredibly wrong to subject these healthy athletes to such a treatment. More people still will point to Semenya and liken her to transgender athletes trying to make the jump. But quite simply, they're wrong. Trans athletes bring over a male body that was grown on male testosterone and pumped full of male hormones. Semenya is a natural-born woman, and while her levels of testosterone are in fact higher than the average woman's, they're nowhere near the level that most men have in their bodies. But most importantly, I have to ask myself, where do we go from here? Because while it may seem to many of you like this is a once-off rule that affects one or two people in one sport, I see it differently. Last week, the CAS set a dangerous precedent, saying that it is okay to discriminate against athletes based solely off of their natural bodies. Imagine that a few years down the road, basketball introduces a height limit, and certain players are not allowed to play because they are too tall to make the sport more fair. Or in American football, what if a weight limit is introduced, saying that certain players are not allowed to play their sport because of their weight? One of the main reasons that Michael Phelps is the most decorated athlete in Olympic history is that he scientifically has the perfect body for swimming. Phelps hit the genetic jackpot with his body, and when Semenya here has done the same thing, why are we trying to limit her when we try to raise Phelps on to greater heights? Imagine a few years ago, we go to one of the Olympics that Phelps is at, and Michael Phelps, one of the main things that makes his body so special is his huge lungs and their ability to take massive breaths that allow him to complete his races in fewer breaths than his competitors. Now say that we make Phelps wear an oxygen-reducing mask that limits the amount of air he intakes with each breath and lowers his level down to those of his competitors. That would be wrong. But it is essentially the exact same thing that we are asking Semenya to do. The differences between athletes are what makes certain ones great. And we should celebrate, not shun, these unique bodies and the special individuals that they hold. Thank you very much.